Ted Cruz's groveling on Tucker Carlson couldn't fit into just one video. So let's jump into a little bit more of his attempt to get Tucker Carlson to accept him once again.
What I was referring to are the limited number of people who engaged in violent attacks against police officers. Now, I think you and I both agree that if you assault a police officer, you should go to jail. That's who I was talking about. And the reason the phrasing was sloppy is I have talked dozens, if not hundreds of times. I've drawn a distinction. I wasn't saying that the thousands of peaceful protesters supporting Donald Trump are somehow terrorists. I wasn't saying the millions of patriots across the country supporting President Trump are terrorists, and that's what a lot of people have misunderstood that comment.
Wait a second, but wait, but hold on. What you just said doesn't make sense. So if somebody assaults a cop, he should be charged and go to jail. I couldn't agree more. We have said that for years. But that person's still not a terrorist. How many people have been charged with terrorism on January 6th? Like, why'd you use that word? You're playing into the other side's characterization that, as Joe Kent just explained, allows them to define an entire population as foreign combatants. And you know that. So why'd you do it?
So Tucker.
That is, he has to throw in that last 10 seconds of Alex Jones territory, like labeling a specific group of people that are receiving legal consequences for their actions as terrorists, which I don't even think legally most of these investigations are. That is defining every conservative in America as a foreign combatant, which obviously it's not doing, and we wouldn't do that. That is your shtick from the Bush era.
Yeah, I agree. It is. He has to say combatants also, because it now becomes like that when you say civilian, the opposite of that is like combatant. But I guess my point in the credit that this illuminates how the credit that I give to Tucker Carlson for beating down Ted Cruz stops at the message he's conveying at the end of the day, which this insipid concept that the people who stormed into the Capitol building, trying to hang Mike Pence, the vice president of the United States, saying that any attempt to point out that was wrong in a way that is explicit and well-defined, which is exactly like Ted Cruz's wheelhouse and something he thought was safe to do, which was call these people that made their way onto the floor of the House, tried to beat up police officers and kill the vice president of the United States and overturn the peaceful transfer of power, trying to call those people just, victims of circumstance who are widely misunderstood. Like, even trying to call out that they're horrible got pushback. And that's what Tucker is trying to do. He's trying to message and run interference for people who tried to end American democracy.
Yeah.
And it's insane that it works.
Yeah, well, and it's worked to convince, every conservative basically believes that simultaneously what happened on January 6th was absolutely great. It was the best thing ever. And it was also a total false flag that the FBI caused. And they only believe that FBI stuff because of Tucker Carlson. He put it out there and they all accept it. It's been wildly successful. And you can expect this for however dark this gets as we continue down this road. January 6th certainly stood out. At some point, I don't know, in a month, in a year, in 5 years, there will be things far worse. I want you to know they are going to run defense. Like, I've been saying this for a while, and thankfully, the assassinations have been mostly attempts rather than successful, although there have been attacks against politicians. If some gunman guns down multiple Congress people, you do not think, like, you are crazy if you think 6 months later to Fox News will be like, yeah, that was a dark day. That was awful, and we really need to learn from that. There's zero chance that is how they're going to respond to literally any violence, no matter how horrific. So just get ready for that. I want to close with the most pathetic part of this entire thing, which is not just Ted Cruz trying to explain his language, why he used the word, but trying to get back into their good graces by reminding them that he was basically as bad.
While thousands of people were standing up to defend this country on January 6th, at that exact moment, I was standing on the Senate floor objecting to the election results. Of course, it would be ridiculous for me to be saying that the people standing up and protesting to follow the law were somehow terrorists. I was talking about people who commit violence against cops. I agree, it was a mistake to use the word yesterday.
Right.
because the Democrats and the corporate media have so politicized it, they're trying to paint everyone as a terrorist, and it's a lie. Exactly. And by the way, I've spoken out vocally against your exchange you just had. They want to paint us as Nazis. Yes,
I know, it's scary.
That is what they're trying to do. And look, I'm the one leading the fight in the Senate against this garbage.
Okay, I don't know how he doesn't get that delivery, that tone of voice he's using is begging. He's like, come on, I'm the best. And also, again, was it terrorism or were thousands of Americans standing up to defend their country? How are you defending your country when you refuse to accept the results of an election that Ted Cruz knows was perfectly valid? He is lying about the most consequential political activities of the past few years so that Tucker Carlson's audience will like him again. It's absolutely pathetic.
This is Ted Cruz. This is an image I had in my mind while this was happening. This is Ted Cruz, who has put together his best laid plans, Wile E. Coyote style. He has said, all right, here is how I come out on top and get the road runner of the office of the presidency and the general voting bloc and become the next person after Trump tries and fails. This is his plan. And he's got it all in his cave. He's all got it plotted out. And he puts it together and he brings it. And Tucker Carlson's just the road runner who like pulls out one nail and the whole thing collapses at once. That's what happened. He just was like, click. And every best laid plan of mouse-like man Ted Cruz just crumbled into a giant like dust cloud with like the words bam showing up and whammo, and it just completely failed.
Yeah,
and it would have been priceless to watch, except the person who won is the guy who's saying, "Oh, I can't believe they're comparing us to Nazis," is a fascist.
Yeah,
he's a straight up definition of the word fascist elitist. As close as you can get if you're like one of those Illuminati folks, like close as you can get to the 13 sacred bloodlines of Swanson brothhood and corporate journalism. And the guy also in Ted Cruz, like, I can't believe corporate media has warped this, throwing out all those buzzwords he can so that hopefully Tucker will grab onto one and pull it up, but he just ignores it while being on Fox News, which is itself corporate media.
100%. Really fast, in 1 minute, I want to finalize just by showing you some of the other responses. Tucker Carlson reamed him, but even CNN had fun attacking him, referring to him as Theon Greyjoy. If you watch Game of Thrones, you know that Reek was not necessarily the most admirable, strong figure. I like Derek Young's tweet. Ted Cruz promises to have vestigial spine removed after bullying by fish stick air. It's pretty good. And look at how pathetic this is. So right wingers like Adam Baldwin are like snitch tweeting on Ted Cruz, like, look, back after the January 6th, he said we should have a peaceful and orderly transition of power. Get him, Tucker. How pathetic is that? But even more pathetic is desperately trying to get those people to love you once again.
And the last little thing is they're everything that they're saying in their defense of the rest of everyone who was storming the Capitol on January 6th is just a hypocritical inverse of their criticism of Black Lives Matter the entire time and Antifa. This like, oh my God, these people in the streets, they're like, everyone affiliated with every part of that movement is a terrorist, evil, communist, critical race theory psychopath. Meanwhile, they're like, well, just, take these 4 people who committed terrorism and don't even call them terrorists. They just, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I seem to recall Tucker Carlson asking for leaders of BLM to be, I believe it was Frog March to Guantanamo Bay. I think he might have used that term. So yeah, a little bit of hypocrisy there. I don't recall them trying to assassinate the vice president during any of those protests.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.